"You're overreacting," my sister said through the bathroom door, her voice bright and falsely calm, the way people talk to dogs before a shot.
"Just finish up, Millie. You're fine." I wasn't fine.
My knees were shaking, one palm flat on the tile, hot water hitting the back of my neck like summer rain I hadn't asked for. The steam wrapped around me and then, like clockwork, the world tilted.
It was Wednesday. It was always Wednesday.
The first time I fainted, I told myself it was nothing: low blood sugar, a dizzy spell, the kind of body complaint you expect when you're 76 and the weather can't decide which bones to bother. But the second Wednesday it happened again, same time, same shower, and when I crawled out on the bath mat, my sister Irene was standing in the hallway already holding a towel, as if she'd been waiting for my fall.
"See?" she chirped, patting my cheeks with brisk little taps. "Just need more salt. You never eat enough."
She lived 2 blocks away but had started dropping by on Wednesdays unannounced, bearing muffins and opinions. On the third Wednesday, when I collapsed and woke to find her kneeling beside me, hair pinned, lipstick perfect, I told myself it was concern. On the fourth, when I saw the bathroom door open a hair before I went down, when I smelled her perfume in the steam, I decided concern had a shadow.
"You shouldn't lock the door, Millie," she said now. "What if something happens?"
"Something is happening," I muttered, pulling the shower knob off with a firm twist until silence replaced the water's hiss.
"It's Wednesday." Irene laughed softly. "Well, that's life. Hump day." She liked saying that. She thought it made her sound young. My house used to be full of people.
My late husband, Hank, built it in 1979 with practical hands that left fingerprints on everything: a sturdy banister, a kitchen island low enough for my short spine, a bedroom with windows that faced west so the light could tuck me in.
After he died, the house stayed quiet but loyal.
Friends visited, grandkids spilled cereal like confetti, neighbors borrowed sugar and returned gossip. When I fainted that first Wednesday, I felt the house lean in like an old dog, attentive. When Irene began showing up every Wednesday without knocking, the house felt different.
Watchful. Braced. I wrapped myself in a towel and opened the door.
Irene's face filled the frame, lips glossy, eyes wide with the kind of sympathy that has measurements.
"You're pale," she said, ushering me toward the bedroom. "Lay down. I'll make tea." "What are you doing here?" I asked, though the question had grown dull from overuse. She blinked, as if the answer were evergreen. "It's Wednesday. I always check on you Wednesdays. The market has the good strawberries on Wednesdays." The towel was warm against my skin, but my back prickled. "You've been letting yourself in. You gave me a key." "When we were 30, I said. For emergencies." "This is an emergency." She smiled, cupping my elbow, guiding me like a child. "Now, rest. Don't fuss."
She moved through my room with a familiarity that made me cold, straightening the corner of a quilt, flipping a pillow, lifting the jewelry dish where I kept my life's small medals: wedding ring, St. Christopher charm, a thin gold chain Hank gave me when we still went dancing.
"You moved that," I said. "What?" "The dish. You moved it." She laughed, light as glass. "I dusted it last week." "You never dust anything." She left to make tea. I lay there and counted my heartbeats. They were steady now, strong enough to pull the shape of me back into me. In the quiet, I heard the house again. A radiator ticked. The refrigerator hummed like a long sigh. And from the hallway, so faint I could have pretended it never came, the sound of my back door unlocking. I sat up, the towel loosening around me, and listened harder. Irene hummed in the kitchen, something jaunty from the 60s. The back door clicked shut. A whisper of cool air traveled the hallway like a rumor. I stood, wrapped the towel tighter, and took 3 soft steps to the bedroom doorway. The hall was empty, the air moving toward me. The smell of autumn leaves, of outside. "Irene." I called. "In here," she trilled. "Do you want lemon in your tea, or are you still pretending citrus makes your joints hurt?" Someone had opened my back door from the outside. Or someone had gone out. I dressed quickly in the safe armor of old age: soft cotton, elastic waist, socks with little grippers that made me feel like a toddler and a gymnast at once. In the mirror, my face looked like a story I hadn't finished. I brushed my hair, straightened my spine, and walked down the hallway with the door sound lodging in my ear like a pebble in a shoe. In the kitchen,
Irene had arranged a tray with 2 cups, sugar, lemon, and the good crackers I saved for company. She arranged things the way her mind worked, neat, performative, a little too much. The back door looked normal, closed, its lock horizontal and smug.
"Did you go out?" I asked casually. She glanced at the door, then me. "Why would I go out?" "The wind," I said. "It feels new." She smiled. "Fresh air is good for you."
She carried the tray into the living room, the room Hank called the heart, because of how the walls caught afternoon light.
I followed, watching the edges of her.
She placed my tea on the end table by the chair where I read obituaries and thrillers and receipts life left me. Then she took her cup and sat on the sofa with posture that could balance a book.
"How was your shower?" she asked. "Wet," I said.
She laughed politely, the way people do when they want the conversation to return to them. "I talked to Paul," she announced, which meant she'd call it an update and I'd call it meddling. Paul was our cousin with a doctorate and a need to diagnose.
"What did our resident expert say?" I asked.
"That fainting after hot showers can be vasovagal syncope. You should eat more salt, drink more water, stop being dramatic."
"Did you tell him it's only on Wednesdays?"
He said coincidence.
"Irene," I said quietly, "do you think I don't notice patterns? I charted medication schedules for a living. I raised 2 kids.
I've known my own body since the moon mattered."
She rolled her eyes.
"And I've known you since we shared a crib. You always did love a mystery. Remember how you tried to solve where Mom hid the birthday presents and then cried when you found them?"
I smiled despite myself. "I cried because you opened them." She fluttered her hand. "Details." Steam curled off my tea.
I watched it rise, tendrils bending toward Irene as if drawn to her perfume, a floral that never apologized.
"You're here every Wednesday," I said. "I like Wednesdays. And every Wednesday I faint in the shower." "Then don't shower on Wednesdays." She sipped. Problem solved. I set my cup down. "Did you go out my back door?" She tilted her head. "Millie, this is getting old." I heard it. "Old houses make noises," she said.
"Not door noises," I said gently.
"Not lock noises. Those are young."
We sat in the kind of sister silence built over 70 years, elastic, resilient, capable of holding more than either of us said. Irene set her cup down and leaned forward, elbows on knees, expression shifting from light to something like concern's cousin.
"You're alone here," she said. "And you're not getting younger."
"I've been thinking, what if we talked to someone about those Wednesday episodes?"
"Or other options." "What options?"
"Places," she said.
"Comfortable places. People your age. Activities. No slippery showers. An assisted living place."
"Don't make that face."
"It's my face." "You fell, Millie.
That tile could crack your skull.
You could lie there all day."
"I'm only 2 blocks away now, but what if I didn't come?"
"What if?" "You always come," I said. "On Wednesdays."
Her mouth pressed into a thin, forgiving line.
"I check on you because I love you. Or because you love my house." She laughed too loud. "Oh, don't be dramatic."
If greed had a scent, it would be subtle and floral, masked by concern.
Irene had always loved my house. The good light. The nostalgia.
The neighborhood that said, "We made it," and then forgot to stop proving it. She'd never had children, she'd had husbands instead, 2 of them, neat as bookends. One died and left her a condo, the other left and took the condo.
She rented now. She hated renting.
"Do you remember the furnace man from last winter?"
I asked lightly. "What?"
"You told him he could come in the back door when I wasn't home."
"You said you'd be here." She blinked. "I was here. The appointment was on a Thursday. You came Wednesday. I like to be early."
"And then last month," I said, "I found the spare key missing from the ceramic duck."
"And this week it returned." She smiled, dazzled and careless. "Oh, Millie, you're making stories." I looked at her hands.
Polished nails, thin rings, a pulse that beat visibly at her wrist, fast as a rabbit.
"Irene," I said gently, "are you putting something in my shower?"
The room went so still even the refrigerator held its breath. Then slowly, Irene laughed, a sound like baubles clinking in a bowl.
You think I'm, what? Poisoning you? In the shower? Why, so I can, what? Move into your house. You said it, I said. She shook her head, smile gone thin. You're tired. That fall rattled you. I know when I'm rattled, I said. I rattled in 1983 when Hank lost his job. I rattled when Mom died in June, not September. This isn't rattle. This is pattern. She stood, smoothing her skirt. I can't talk to you when you're like this. I'll come back later.
She picked up her purse, the one with the big zipper that sounded like a snarl, and walked toward the back door as if to prove something ordinary. I followed at a distance that kept my questions safe. She opened the back door and stepped onto the stoop, breathed the crisp air, and then, without looking at me, she turned her wrist and slipped her hand into the little gap between the door frame and the siding, the place where Hank had tucked a spare key behind a loose slat decades ago. Her fingers disappeared, reappeared, then disappeared again. The motion was practiced, blind. I knew that key had been missing last week. I knew it was back now. I watched her play it cool. What are you doing? I asked. Checking the weather, she said. Is there a key there? I asked. She smiled at the horizon. If you don't remember, you shouldn't be living alone. Something low and old in me reared up. The nurse who had charted truth when doctors lied, the mother who had told the principal that my son didn't steal the calculator, he returned it, the wife who had looked at the mortgage and said, "We will make it." My voice came out steady as breakfast. Tell me what you're doing on Wednesdays, I said. She turned, the spare key between her fingers now, twirling it like jewelry. I'm saving your life, she said sweetly. Because someone has to. That night I put a bowl under the bathroom sink to catch the drip that had started talking to me, and I slept with the bedroom door open so the house could see me breathe. When I woke at 3 a.m., I didn't know why at first. Then I heard it, the softest footfall where no foot should be. My back door again. A whisper of movement, then nothing. I slid from bed in slow motion, became my younger self, the one who could cross a room without waking a sick child. At the end of the hallway, the kitchen sat innocent and dim. But the air smelled faintly of lemon. Not my lemon. Irene's lemon. She always left that smell behind, the way thieves leave a signature when they need to be caught. I clicked on the stove light. The kitchen blinked awake. The counters sat neat, the tea canister at attention, the sugar bowl a small snowdrift. The back door lock was horizontal, smug again. I opened the sink cabinet and found the bowl I'd left, the one that had been empty when I put it there. Now, it held an inch of water. But the pipe wasn't dripping. The trap was dry. The water in the bowl smelled lemon clean. Not sink water. Not city water. Chemical clean. The shower. I went to the bathroom and turned the knob to a trickle, enough to wet my fingers. The water looked ordinary. Clear, obedient, ready to become steam. I filled a teacup I'd brought with me like a lunatic and sniffed. Nothing. I tasted a finger. Nothing. The shower floor shone. The glass doors were streak-free, Irene clean. I knelt carefully and ran my finger along the drain. It came away with a thin, slick residue that made my skin tingle cool, then warm, then nothing. I washed it off quickly, heart doing a tap dance I hadn't ordered. Then I saw it, tucked behind the shampoo bottle where my eyes rarely went because the label hadn't changed in 5 years, a small, clear dropper bottle. No label, just a blue cap. I picked it up and the world tilted, not from faint but from anger. I unscrewed the cap and sniffed. A sharp citrus note, then something colder, medical. Not bleach. Not vinegar. Irene had always been clever enough to avoid obvious. I set the bottle in my robe pocket and stood there until my pulse remembered how to be boring. Then I called my doctor's office and got the answering service, told them I needed an appointment first thing and that I wanted to bring something in to test. The woman on the line sounded sleepy but said yes, of course, bring it in, we'll look. At 8:05 a.m., I handed the bottle to a lab tech with eyebrows like little bugs. At 10:40, Dr. Patel called me herself. Mrs. Harper, she said, voice calm in the way doctors learn in school. We tested the sample you brought. It looks like diluted essential oil with ethanol, probably harmless in small amounts, possibly irritating. But there's something else. My throat went dry. What? A trace of isopropyl and menthol derivative.
Nothing that should cause fainting at this dilution. So I'm fainting for fun? I asked, sharp.
No, she said gently. But if someone were, say, misting the shower before you turned it on, creating a high concentration of volatile compounds in an enclosed space, you could hyperventilate. Combine that with hot water, a drop in blood pressure, and syncope.
Someone, I repeated. She hesitated.
Do you know who would have access to your bathroom on a regular basis?
Yes, I said. I do.
Mrs. Harper, I recommend keeping your bathroom window open and avoiding showers alone until we sort this out.
I can refer you to a specialist too. I'll handle it, I said. Thank you.
I hung up and stood in my kitchen, the house holding its long, patient breath. On the counter sat a plate covered with foil, strawberry muffins Irene had dropped off, the tops jeweled with sugar like promises.
I lifted the foil and inhaled. They smelled like childhood and trap.
At noon, Irene texted me, checking in on my Wednesday girl.
Shall I pop by?
There was a heart emoji, the neat red kind that requires no blood to be bright.
I texted back, come at 2. I made tea.
At 1:30, I called a locksmith and asked him how quickly he could rekey a house. He said if I paid cash and didn't ask too many questions, he could come when most people were looking the other way.
When is that? I asked. Wednesdays, he said.
I laughed harder than the joke asked me to. At 1:57, I put 2 cups on the tray, and into one I stirred a pinch of salt like old remedies and old women always do. I opened the bathroom window wide and turned on the fan. I removed the ceramic duck from the back stoop and set it on the kitchen counter, a patient witness. Then I placed the little dropper bottle beside the tea, lined up like a confession. At 2 sharp, Irene let herself in with the confidence of a person born into other people's houses.
Millie, she sang. I brought the good lemon squares.
I smiled, the kind of smile a woman wears when she's standing on the edge of a very necessary cliff.
Wonderful, I said. I brought the truth.
Her eyes flicked to the counter, to the bottle, to me. For the first time in weeks, her smile slipped and didn't quite find its way back. Before I poured the tea, before the locksmith arrived, before my sister decided whether to double down or finally tell me why Wednesdays made her generous, I want to ask you something that only people who have lived long enough can answer. If a person you love starts rearranging your safety and calling it care, do you pretend you don't see it for the sake of peace? Or do you open every window, invite in the cold air, and make them say out loud what they were doing on Wednesdays? When Irene came over the next Wednesday, she acted like nothing had happened. No mention of the little bottle, no questions about my health, not even a sideways glance at the bathroom. She just let herself in, again without knocking, her perfume announcing her before her voice did.
Morning, Millie.
You up for our little tea ritual? She sang, placing a paper bag on the counter like a magician unveiling a trick.
I brought those cranberry scones you like. Well liked, before your dentist said no more sugar.
I smiled from my seat at the kitchen table, a smile that didn't travel all the way up.
You know me. Always breaking the rules.
She chuckled, a soft trill that used to sound comforting when we were kids but now carried the pitch of calculation. She started fussing around my kitchen, rearranging things that didn't need rearranging, cutting board, kettle, even the salt shaker. Her fingers moved like she owned everything they touched. Smells like lemon, she said casually, glancing toward the bathroom hallway.
You clean again?
Windows open, I replied, taking a deliberate sip of my tea.
Doctor said fresh air helps.
Her expression froze for half a second.
Just half. But I caught it.
Then she smiled again, big, blameless, bright.
Good idea.
That's what I always tell you.
See? I'm good for you. I looked at her, really looked.
At 74, Irene wore her age like it was a suggestion. Tight curls set every Friday, pastel cardigans that screamed innocence, lipstick that glowed like old secrets. People always said she was the fun sister. I was the practical one, the nurse, the planner, the one who made things work. But now, watching her smile with her teeth and not her eyes, I realized Irene was still playing the same game she'd started in childhood, rearranging other people's pieces until she could call the win hers. She poured the tea with her usual ceremony, all grace and clinking spoons.
You look much better this week. No fainting, right? No fainting, I said. I took your advice. Her face lit up. Oh? Which one? I skipped the shower. Her eyes flickered again. Barely noticeable, but there it was. The way her pupils tightened. She laughed quickly. Well, see? It's just hot water and steam. It messes with your blood pressure. I nodded. Sure. Or maybe it's the air. Something about it makes me woozy. She tilted her head. What do you mean? Doctor said chemicals can do that. Her hand paused halfway to her mouth, teacup hovering. Chemicals. Yeah, I said lightly, stirring my tea. Even little things. Oils, cleaners, sprays. Apparently, some are harmless alone, but if you mix them with heat, like in a shower, they can do strange things to people. Her fingers tightened around the cup. I could see the pulse in her wrist beating fast again, that same rabbit thrum I'd noticed before. Then she smiled. You've been reading too many crime novels. Maybe, I said, smiling back. You always said I have an active imagination. The silence that followed was thick enough to touch. She reached into her purse and pulled out an envelope, sliding it across the table toward me. Speaking of imagination, I think this might help. It's a brochure. Sunrise Hills Retirement Community. I took a tour last weekend. It's beautiful. Private rooms, staff, no stairs. I stared at the glossy picture of happy seniors playing cards under perfect light. I don't need that, I said evenly. Millie, she softened her tone, sugar-coating steel. You faint in the shower. You live alone. What if? I said I don't need it. Her lips twitched, caught between pity and victory. You always think you can do everything yourself. But Hank's gone. The kids live hours away. I just want you safe. There it was again, her favorite word. Safe. Used like a leash. I folded the brochure and placed it on the table. You must really love that place, I said. She smiled. Why wouldn't I? They even said I could stay there too, if I helped manage the transition. We could be together again. Like old times. That was the first time she'd admitted it out loud, the we in her plans. Not me moving for my safety. Us moving into my money. I stood up slowly, letting the chair scrape the floor just enough to make her flinch. You said they'd let you stay there too? She sipped her tea to cover the pause. Well, they're flexible. They said family arrangements can be made. I see, I said. So you've already talked to them about me? Just general questions, she said quickly. You're jumping to conclusions. No, Irene, I said softly, you're jumping ahead. She frowned. What does that mean? It means you're planning something that requires me to fall first. Her teacup clinked against the saucer. You're not making sense. I leaned forward, elbows on the table. I found that bottle. The one behind my shampoo. Her face went pale. What bottle? The one you forgot, after cleaning. Doctor tested it. Said it could cause fainting when inhaled in steam. Her jaw tightened. That's ridiculous. Maybe. But what's not ridiculous is that you show up every Wednesday, uninvited, with muffins and concern. And somehow, that's the only day I faint. She stood suddenly, hands trembling. You're accusing me of hurting you? I'm asking you why you'd benefit if I moved out of this house, I said calmly. You've been hinting for months. Talking to realtors. Showing up during my naps. Even calling the retirement place before I knew it existed. Her eyes filled with tears, real or rehearsed, I couldn't tell. I've done everything for you. I check on you every week. I cook, I clean, You try to own what isn't yours, I said quietly. She stared at me then, face crumbling in slow motion. You think I'd? Millie, that's cruel. Cruel. I said. No, Irene. Cruel is pretending to care while making sure I'm too dizzy to notice you're moving my life around. Her tears stopped just as quickly as they started. She straightened her spine, adjusted her cardigan, and said in that flat, deliberate tone she used when she wanted control, fine. Believe what you want. But if you fall again, don't expect me to come running. I won't, I said. She grabbed her purse, the zipper screaming again, and walked to the door. Before she stepped out, she turned and said, I was just trying to help. You always make me the villain. Only when you audition so well, I said. She slammed the door. The house exhaled. For the rest of that day, I kept the windows open and the kettle warm. I checked every bottle, every cabinet. Nothing seemed out of place, yet everything felt wrong. That night, I couldn't sleep. The hallway felt too still. The air too clean. I left the light on in the bathroom and locked the back door 3 times. At 3:22 a.m., I woke to a sound. Soft. Familiar. The back door again. I sat up, heart thudding, the way it does when you realize the story isn't over. This time, I didn't wait. I reached for the old cordless phone on the nightstand and dialed the number taped under it. My neighbor Tom, retired sheriff, the one Hank used to play poker with. He answered on the second ring, voice thick with sleep. "Millie? You okay?" "Tom," I whispered, "someone's in my house." "What? Are you sure?" "I'm sure," I said. "It's Wednesday night." That got his attention. "Stay put. I'm coming over." But I didn't stay put. Because through the crack of my bedroom door, I could see the hallway light flicker, and a shadow move past it, slow and sure, heading toward my bathroom. I stepped into my slippers, grabbed the flashlight Hank had left in the drawer, and followed quietly, each step measured like prayer. And when I reached the bathroom doorway, the beam caught her. Irene. Hair tied back, cardigan off, gloved hands unscrewing the shower head. The sight hit me like cold air. She wasn't startled. She wasn't even guilty. She just froze, like a child caught mid-lie, then straightened slowly. "What are you doing?" I asked, my voice steady but shaking underneath. Her mouth opened, then shut. "Fixing it," she said. "You said it leaked." "There's no leak." Her jaw clenched. "You shouldn't sneak up on people." "I live here." For a long second, neither of us moved. Then she sighed, dropped the shower head into the tub, and said flatly, "You've always been so dramatic, Millie. You think everyone's after your things. After your house. After your peace. Are you?" She smiled. "Maybe I just want what's fair." That was when the flashlight beam shook, not because of my hands, but because I realized the worst part wasn't that Irene wanted something of mine. It was that she believed she deserved it. "Go home, Irene," I said quietly. She stepped closer. "Or what?" I didn't answer, because that was when headlights swept across the kitchen window. Tom's truck. The sound of boots on gravel. Irene froze. Then she turned on her heel and slipped out the back door, vanishing into the dark like smoke. When Tom burst through the front, flashlight in hand, the house smelled faintly of lemon again. He looked at me, breathless. "You all right?" I nodded. "Yes," I said. "But I think she finally showed me the truth." Tom frowned. "Who?" "My sister," I said softly. "And I think I finally know what she's been hiding in that shower all along." The air thickened between us, heavy with the weight of years and betrayal. Tom put a hand on my shoulder. "You want to call the police?" I looked toward the back door, where a single lemon-colored glove lay in the doorway like an unspoken answer. "Not yet," I said. "Not until I know why." And that was when I realized, Wednesday wasn't about fainting. It was about discovery. And next Wednesday, I was going to make sure Irene fainted first. By the next morning, I'd made up my mind. I wasn't waiting for another Wednesday to faint, fall, or forget what I'd seen. I'd spent most of my life helping other people, patients, kids, even Irene, and I was tired of being the one who had to recover from someone else's choices. No more. I sat at the kitchen table, the sunlight creeping over my mug like it was trying to warm me into courage. The glove she dropped last night still sat there in a plastic bag from the drawer. Pale yellow, size small, faint scent of lemon and something sterile. I'd almost thrown it out, but something in me said keep the proof. Hank always used to say, "You can't fight what you can't prove, Millie." And this felt like a fight that had been building for decades. Tom came over around 9:30, wearing the same old sheriff's jacket even though he hadn't been in uniform for years. "You sure you're okay?" he asked again, eyeing the door where Irene had slipped away. "I'm fine," I said. "But I think she's not done yet." He took off his hat, rubbed his head, and sighed. "Millie, you want me to talk to her? Maybe scare her a little?" "No," I said firmly. That'll make her smarter. I need her to think I'm still the dizzy one. He raised an eyebrow. You planning something? Just setting the stage, I said. She likes patterns. I'll give her one. Tom studied me for a moment. You always were the clever one. Not clever, I said quietly. Just tired of being underestimated. We made a plan.
He'd stay close, drive by on Wednesday evenings, keep an eye on the house, make sure I wasn't alone too long.
Meanwhile, I'd keep pretending nothing had changed. Let Irene think her little act still worked. And I'd find out why she was doing it. Because that was the thing still gnawing at me. I knew Irene could be manipulative. Greedy, even. But this? Drugging me? Making me faint in my own home? It wasn't just about the house. There was something else. Something bigger.
Over the next few days, I played the role she'd written for me, the fragile sister.
I let her call. I let her fuss.
I pretended to forget small things, where I'd set my keys, whether I'd eaten breakfast. I even let her see me stumble once when I tripped on the rug. She practically glowed with satisfaction, rushing over to steady me like she'd been waiting her whole life for me to collapse into her arms.
See? You need help, she said, tone dripping with false concern. You're right, I said sweetly. Maybe you should start handling some things for me. Her eyes lit up. Really? Like what? Oh, bills. Papers. You always were so organized, I said. And maybe the mail too. My hands shake sometimes. That was the bait. And she bit down hard.
Within 2 days, she'd made herself indispensable again, showing up every morning to help, sorting my mail, handling calls, even chatting with my bank over speakerphone while I sat nearby and pretended not to understand what was going on. She didn't ask for my passwords, not directly, she was smarter than that, but she did ask innocent questions.
Do you still use that same PIN from the old debit card? You know, the one with Hank's birthday. I smiled every time she tried. Oh, I can't remember, I'd say. You know me. But I remembered everything. Then came the moment I'd been waiting for. Wednesday morning. She came in humming, carrying her usual lemony scent and a bag of pastries. You're showering today, right? She asked casually, setting her things on the counter. I nearly laughed at how obvious it had become. I was thinking of it, I said. Her face brightened just enough to make me sure. Good. Nothing like a hot shower to relax. Oh, and I brought new shampoo, yours looked almost empty. That was new.
She held up a bottle, nearly identical to mine, same brand, same label, just slightly newer, shinier.
You shouldn't spend money on me, I said, playing along. Nonsense, she said. It's the least I can do. I took the bottle, smiled, and set it on the counter. You're too kind, Irene. She waved a hand. Just being a good sister. After she left, I took that bottle straight to the kitchen sink. The cap came off easily. The smell hit me first, not lemon, not floral. Something sharper. Like alcohol mixed with menthol again, but stronger this time. I poured a few drops into a clear glass and held it up to the light. It shimmered oddly, faint bubbles rising even though it wasn't carbonated. I couldn't say what it was, but I knew it wasn't shampoo. I called Tom. Bring a small sample to my buddy at the lab, he said. I'll make sure it gets tested. Quietly. That evening, he came back with a look that told me everything before he spoke. It's not poison, he said, but it's close enough. Industrial cleaner mixed with alcohol and essential oils. Enough to make you pass out from the fumes in a small enclosed space. Why? I asked softly. Why go to that much trouble? He hesitated. You said she's been asking about bills, right? Yes. Then it's not about the house, he said. It's about control. She can't take what's in your name if you're alive and alert. But if you start looking incompetent, if she gets you declared unfit, she can petition for guardianship. That gives her power over your money, your property, even your medical care. The words dropped like stones. Guardianship. That's what she wanted. Not the house, me. My rights. My choices. My freedom. I'll stop her, I said quietly. Tom nodded. I know you will. But be careful, Millie. People like her? They're dangerous when cornered.
I spent the next day preparing. I cleaned the house, opened every window, wrote a few notes, just in case, and made sure my important papers were locked away. I even baked Irene's favorite cookies, because if I was going to end this, it was going to look perfectly ordinary from the outside. When Wednesday came again, I was ready. I let her in with a smile. She brought flowers this time. "You look nice," she said, sounding surprised. "Had a good night's sleep," I replied. "Decided I've been too mopey lately." "I think you're right, Irene, I need help." She froze mid-step, her face softening into a careful mix of relief and triumph. "Oh Millie," she said sweetly, "I'm so glad you finally see that. I just want what's best for you." "I know," I said. "That's why I made some calls. I thought maybe we could talk about those arrangements together." "Arrangements?" "Yes," I said, gesturing toward the table. "Come sit. I already have the tea ready." She sat, purse beside her, eyes flicking between me and the folder on the table. "What kind of arrangements?" "Guardianship papers," I said calmly. "Figured we'd make it official. You want to take care of me, don't you?" Her eyes widened, and for a second, I saw her lose balance, not physically, but emotionally. The mask slipped. Then, slowly, she smiled. "Well, yes, if that's what you want." "Of course," I said. "But I wanted a witness, just to make sure everything's proper." Before she could ask what I meant, the front door creaked open. Tom stepped in, hat in hand, calm as Sunday service. "Afternoon, ladies," he said. Irene's smile evaporated. "What's this?" "Oh, just a friend," I said. He offered to look over the paperwork. Used to deal with things like this when he worked for the county. Her face went white. "Millie, you didn't." "I did," I said softly. Tom set a small recorder on the table, clicked it on, and folded his hands. "Ma'am," he said to Irene, "mind if I ask a few questions about your role here? Just for record keeping." "I what? This is ridiculous." "Maybe," he said. "But humor me." She stood abruptly. "You're trying to trap me. Both of you." "Trap?" I repeated. "Oh, Irene, that's such a harsh word. I'm just trying to protect myself. You always said you wanted what's best for me." She looked between us, realizing too late that the air had shifted. Her voice turned sharp. "You've gone senile. You're paranoid." "Then why were you in my bathroom at 3 a.m? I asked. "Why did you bring me fake shampoo? Why did you tell the retirement home I'd already agreed to move?" Her mouth opened, then closed. She looked at Tom, at me, at the recorder. Then she did something that surprised me. She laughed. A hard, brittle sound. "Fine," she said. "You want the truth? You can't handle living alone anymore, Millie. You're going to fall, or burn the house down, or forget where you are, and when that happens, who will clean up after you?" "Me. I've done it my whole life." I let her words sit there. They weren't lies. Not completely. But buried under them was something darker. "You could have just asked for help," I said. She shook her head. "You'd never give it. You always had everything. Hank, the house, the kids, the savings. I got scraps. So yes, maybe I wanted some control for once." "That's not control," I said softly. "That's cruelty dressed as concern." Her face twisted. "You don't get to judge me." "Maybe not," I said. "But you don't get to decide my life either." Tom stood. "That's enough," he said. "You can leave now. Or we can make a report. Your choice." Irene looked at me one last time, eyes blazing, not with guilt, but with wounded pride. Then she grabbed her purse and stormed out, slamming the door behind her. The silence that followed was heavier than before, but it was mine. For the first time in months, the air didn't smell like lemon. Tom turned to me. "You did good, Millie." I nodded slowly. "No," I said. "I did necessary." When he left, I stood in the doorway for a long while, looking out at the empty street. The afternoon sun had shifted to gold, warm and quiet. The kind of light Hank used to call forgiving. And as it spilled across my kitchen floor, I thought of all the Wednesdays I'd spent fainting trusting, hoping Irene meant well. Now, I finally understood. Sometimes the people who say they want to save you are really just waiting for you to fall, so they can decide what happens next.
Not anymore. It was 2 weeks before I saw Irene again. 2 quiet, blessed, lemon-free weeks.
Tom stopped by most mornings for coffee, sometimes pretending he needed my paper when really he was just checking that I was still breathing. He meant well, but I could feel something simmering in him too, an old cop's instinct that a storm wasn't over just because the air went still.
Then one Tuesday evening, my phone rang. Unknown number. I let it buzz twice before answering. Mrs. Harper, a male voice said. This is Daniel Lyons from the Gazette. I wanted to confirm a few details about your move to Sunrise Hills. My spine went cold. I'm not moving anywhere, I said. He hesitated.
Well, ma'am, we received a press notice about a local donation in your name, a trust transfer to Sunrise Hills valued at $480,000.
Your sister was listed as your representative. My pulse thudded in my ears. Did she sign something? It looks like a preliminary deed, not finalized yet, he said. Your name's on the letterhead.
I thanked him, hung up, and stared at the receiver as if it might explain how greed could survive exposure.
She wasn't done, not even close. She'd gone from poisons to paperwork. I called Tom. She's trying to move my money, I said.
Then it's time we stop playing defense, he replied.
You want witnesses? We'll give her an audience.
By Thursday morning, everything was in motion. Tom arranged for his friend, Detective Elaine Foster, still active on the force, to come by for coffee off the record. She'd reviewed the lab report from the fake shampoo, the recordings of Irene's confession, and the suspicious retirement paperwork Irene had filed with forged signatures.
This could go 2 ways, Elaine said, her pen tapping against her notebook.
We can hand it to the DA, let them handle fraud and elder endangerment. Or you can confront her yourself, with me and Tom present, quietly recording. Sometimes when people like her realize they've lost control, they hang themselves with their own words. I looked at her, the kind of calm I'd learned in hospitals settling over me.
Let's do it that way, I said. She's always loved a stage. Let's give her one.
We planned it for Saturday afternoon, right here in my living room, the same room Hank built, the same room where Irene had once helped me decorate the Christmas tree.
Now it would hold something else, truth. Saturday came crisp and bright.
I baked cookies again, the same kind she used to forget to pay for at bake sales when we were young.
The house smelled like vanilla and vengeance.
Tom positioned the small recording camera on the bookshelf, hidden among photo frames. Elaine pretended to be my niece, lounging on the sofa with a friendly smile but eyes like steel.
At 1:58 p.m., Irene's car pulled up. I heard her heels before her voice.
Millie, she called, stepping in without knocking, all false cheer and expensive perfume.
I brought you a pie from that new place on Lincoln Avenue. Oh, company.
She spotted Elaine and smiled automatically.
You didn't tell me you had visitors. I like surprises, I said, pouring tea. Come sit. I have one for you too. Oh. Her tone lightened. I do love surprises. Elaine gestured politely. Hi, I'm Kate, Millie's niece. How nice.
Irene said, though suspicion already flickered behind her eyes. She sat on the sofa across from me, smoothing her skirt.
So what's this about? You sounded so chipper on the phone.
I took my time, arranging sugar cubes like chess pieces. Do you remember when Hank used to say every house keeps its own memory?
Irene smiled stiffly. He said a lot of things.
Well, this one remembers too, I said. It remembers Wednesday nights, lemon scent, fainting spells, and it remembers who was holding the key.
Her smile faltered. We've been over this, Millie. No, I said softly. We haven't. You've been avoiding it.
Tom stepped forward from the kitchen doorway.
Afternoon, Irene. Her face went slack. Oh, Tom. You're here too.
Just making sure everything's neighborly.
Color drained from her cheeks. You can't ambush me in my sister's house.
I think we can, Elaine said pleasantly, setting her teacup down.
Especially since I'm recording.
Irene blinked, the smile finally collapsing into something raw.
Recording what?
I haven't done anything wrong.
Elaine's voice stayed level. Forgery. Fraud. Attempted coercion.
And that cleaner you mixed into her shampoo. We have it all. For a moment she said nothing, just breathed, shallow and fast. Then she laughed, sharp as glass. You can't prove any of that, she said, but her voice shook. This is just another one of Millie's paranoid stories. Maybe, I said, lifting the folder from the table. But these signatures look pretty real, don't they? The retirement community sent me a copy, along with a notarized statement saying my guardian approved the sale of my house. Her eyes widened. You weren't supposed to, she stopped herself, too late. Tom caught it. Wasn't supposed to what? She slumped back, realizing she'd stepped into her own snare. You don't understand, she said, the edge cracking into something close to desperation. Millie was slipping. She leaves the stove on, she forgets names, she needs care. I was doing what she couldn't. Elaine leaned forward. So you forged her signature, lied to her doctor, and drugged her to prove she needed care? It wasn't poison. Irene snapped. It just made her sleep. I wanted her calm, so she'd let go, so she wouldn't fight me on everything. I stared at her. My heart didn't break this time, it just got quiet. You were supposed to be my sister, I said. Not my warden. Tears slipped down her cheeks. I was scared, Millie. You have everything, and I have nothing. When you die, it's all just going to your kids, who barely visit. I gave my whole life to everyone else, and now what do I have? Rent. Pills. Silence. Her voice cracked. I thought if I helped you move out, maybe I could finally live here. I deserve that much. Tom's voice was low. You don't deserve anything you tried to take by deceit. I was going to take care of her, she shouted, standing now, shaking. Better than they ever did. Elaine didn't move. You nearly killed her. Irene froze, realizing for the first time that she'd crossed from pitiful into criminal. The tears vanished. Her shoulders stiffened. You can't prove intent. Elaine smiled faintly. Actually, we can. Between your own confession just now, the lab reports, and these witness statements, she nodded toward the bookshelf. It's more than enough. The room fell into an awful stillness. The kind that doesn't just silence, it exposes. Irene looked around, eyes darting from face to face like a cornered animal. Finally, she whispered, You set me up. No, I said quietly. You set the trap. I just stopped fainting long enough to see it. Her lip trembled. I didn't mean to hurt you. I know, I said. You just didn't care if you did. Elaine stood, closing her notebook. Mrs. Harper, I'll file a report. You'll likely get a restraining order, and your sister will be contacted for questioning. You might want to change your locks again. I already did, I said, watching Irene's face fall further. Last Wednesday. That was the final crack. She slumped onto the sofa, all the elegance and calculation gone, just a tired old woman who'd tried to steal what wasn't hers. When Elaine left to make the call, Irene whispered without looking up, You could have just let me stay. I took a deep breath. I could have forgiven you, I said. But you don't live in a house by poisoning the person who built it. She lifted her head slowly, tears cutting paths down her makeup. You think you're better than me? No, I said. Just luckier. I had someone who loved me without needing to own me. I handed her the car keys she'd left on the counter. You should go, Irene. Tell the truth this time, at least once before it's over. She looked at me one last time, something unreadable flickering in her eyes, rage, regret, recognition, maybe all three. Then she took the keys, straightened her cardigan, and walked out without another word. After she was gone, Tom came back in. The living room felt lighter somehow, like the air had been holding its breath for years and finally exhaled. You did it, he said softly. I nodded, staring at the sunlight streaming across the floor. It's strange, I said. She's gone, but it doesn't feel like winning. It feels like grieving. He put a hand on my shoulder. Sometimes the same thing, he said. I looked toward the door where she'd stood, the same door she used to burst through as a kid, laughing, hair tangled from summer wind. I could still hear her voice echoing faintly, mocking, loving, broken. Every Wednesday, I whispered, I thought she was saving me.
Turns out she was rehearsing. Tom squeezed my shoulder. You rest now. Let the law finish what you started.
As he left, I sat in the quiet house, the house Hank built, the one Irene tried to claim, and let the truth settle in. The line between love and ownership is thinner than anyone admits. And when someone crosses it, sometimes the kindest thing you can do is let them walk away. And lock the door behind them. In the weeks that followed, the house learned how to breathe again. No lemon scent. No nervous footsteps. No unannounced visits. Just the soft rhythm of mornings returning to their old patterns. Coffee, birds at the feeder, sunlight spilling over the counter Hank built with his hands. For the first time in a long time, silence didn't feel like danger. It felt like mine. The police handled things quietly, thanks to Elaine. They opened an investigation, took statements, and collected the recordings. I didn't have to face Irene again. She'd apparently left town to stay with friends up north, which was her way of hiding from consequences. The detective said they'd find her eventually. I told them not to rush. Tom still checked in, but less and less. You're steadier now, he said one morning, sipping his coffee. I think that house knows it's got its owner back. I smiled. Maybe it does. Or maybe I finally started listening to it again. I spent those days reclaiming small things that had gone missing, not just the spare key or the little dish on the dresser, but the parts of myself Irene had tried to rearrange. My confidence. My habits. My sense that I was still capable of protecting what was mine. I found her old letters in a drawer one afternoon, tied with twine and tucked under some bills. Letters from when we were young, funny, wild, full of dreams and secrets about the lives we thought we'd live. We'd been so close once. She'd been the daring one, I the careful one. Somewhere along the way, care had become control, and daring had turned into desperation. I didn't hate her. Not really. I pitied her. The DA's office sent me a letter a month later, confirming that Irene had been formally charged with forgery and elder coercion. They asked if I wanted to testify when the case moved forward. I said yes. Not out of spite, but because truth deserved its own witness. I'd spent too long being quiet in my own story. The morning I signed the papers, I walked to the back door and opened it wide. The air was cool and clean, no trace of chemicals or deceit. I thought about all those Wednesdays, the fainting, the fog, the confusion, and how each one had been a rehearsal for a kind of freedom I didn't know I'd need this late in life. I didn't faint anymore. I stood straight, brushed my hair back, and let the house fill with real air. The kind that carries no lies. Sometimes at night, I still hear the old pipes creak, or the faint echo of keys rattling in memory's pocket. I don't fear it. Houses remember things, but they also forgive. So do people, when they're ready. If Irene ever calls again, I'll answer. Maybe one day we'll talk. Maybe one day she'll tell me why love had to come wrapped in manipulation. Or maybe we'll just stay silent, each of us tending to our own ghosts. Either way, I've learned something I wish I'd known years ago. Sometimes family isn't who keeps you safe, it's who teaches you how to stand when they don't. So if you're listening, and you've ever felt trapped in someone else's version of care, remember this. You have the right to take back your Wednesdays, your home, your air. And if someone ever tells you they're doing something for your own good, make sure it's not for theirs.